Yeah, we're rolling. Callie, thank you for
Sweet.
being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Big Sky Tutoring, what can you tell me about it?
So, Big Sky Tutoring is my company. We offer tutoring and academic mentorship for K-12 and college students in the area. Um, right now, we have 14 tutors on the staff. Everybody has like a different academic background. So, kind of no matter who calls or what subject they need or what the age is of the student, someone on our staff can help just because we have such a broad diversity of academic backgrounds. We have people who are currently doing their PhD program. We have people who have master's degrees, people who are getting their master's degrees. We have a couple undergraduates who are graduating and leaving us this semester, so that's a bummer. But yeah, we everybody's different, but everyone shares like that same love of mentorship and supporting youth. So everyone brings something kind of different to the table, but we all share like the same values of supporting kids. So
You say 24?
14.
14. That's a pretty big crew.
Yeah.
So pretty much whatever somebody needs age-wise or depending on what they're struggling with, you have a pretty good fit for them.
hmm
Are the tutors all pretty busy? Are they part-time? How often are you guys?
So other than myself, I have two full-timers. Cameron is like our STEM specialist. He taught at MSU for about 20 years in the chemistry, physics, and mechanical engineering departments. So he handles most of our like higher level college stuff, calc, chem, physics. And then Julie is full time. She's our main point gal for early literacy and reading. She does most of our elementary stuff. So those two are full time. And then for the rest of the staff, everyone's pretty much part time. Like this is like their side hustle on top of school. It's a really flexible job. I let them make their own schedule. Um, they can, if they're going out of town, they reschedule. Like, there's really no oversight from me about like when and where they have to do their job. So it works really nicely for people who are busy and have college to work around.
And Cam is the teaching wizard?
Yes,
Yeah, I was looking at the bios because he kind of looks like a wizard.
he does.
So is that
And
where he gets the?
he only wears, I call him that, he only wears neon green.
Okay.
He says it gives him teaching superpowers.
Hey,
He's eccentric. He's crazy. Everybody loves him. He's totally a one of a kind guy. So he's a really big asset to the company. I
cool.
I got him to he was working half-time at the university and half-time with me. And about a year ago I got him to make the jump full-time with us. And that was a really big step for the business, like
Nice.
beyond just me doing this full-time, having him fully bought in on the business was a big step for us. And Julie has been full-time with us since January, but she's worked for me for like 4 years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you said you're a huge fan of Bridger. Why is it called Big Sky Tutoring?
Because my ultimate goal is to scale throughout the state. Um, what I'm doing here, I'm the only one in town offering this kind of umbrella tutoring service. There's lots of private contractors and people who are selling themselves, but there isn't a centralized agency to find someone other than me. And that's the case in most of the towns in Montana. I'm not really sure why, but it's a service business that is kind of underrepresented.
Yeah.
So Big Sky State, gives me the opportunity to scale. And I'm actually right now in the very early stages of partnering with the state of Montana, which is very exciting. That's going through Montana Digital Academy. So what they do is they offer online curriculum that can be used by any student in the state. And where I'm going to come in is like if you think about how rural most of our state is, there's 1 and 2 room schoolhouses all throughout this state, right? And so you might have a kid who wants to take chemistry, but they only have one teacher, and that teacher isn't equipped to teach chemistry, right? So the kid will enroll in chemistry through Montana Digital Academy online, and then they're going to be able to access our tutoring services if they're enrolled in that service. Their like home school district will buy tutoring packages from us. So starting in the fall, my dream of helping kids throughout the state is going to be up and running with this partnership. So it's a very exciting step that's coming up.
That's so cool. I just talked, the episode actually came out today with Pat and Guy Murphy with Montana Festival.
Hmm.
And he was talking about how, things in Gallatin County, there's a lot of isolated wealth, but how do we spread that out to the whole state?
Hmm.
Because you get to those rural areas where there's just not the resources, and it is really cool when you think of we have access to great things here, and then we can spread that out to the entire state. That's
Totally.
just, I think that's what, if Gallatin County has the most economic, you know, the biggest economic flow coming out, that's very cool that it's getting spread back out. So kudos to you for doing that and
Thank you.
thinking beyond just Gallatin County.
Yeah, there's so many kids throughout the state who need this. And, there are counties in Montana where it might be 4 families, right?
Yeah.
It's just 4 huge ranches and all those kids go to school together, but they're not offered the same opportunities because they can't be, right? The budget for the school is just so much smaller, and we have teacher shortages throughout the country. It's not just Montana. But I think this online school with access to private tutoring is going to be a really big jump for those kids out in the rural schools who have kind of been working through curriculum on their own without any kind of instruction. There are teachers through Montana Digital Academy, but it's like limited access to them. And private tutoring is great for anyone who needs it, really, because you can personalize instruction and make sure, right? I'm watching you every step of the way to make sure you're getting it, right? And I can stop you in the middle and say, let's pause. I see this all the time with kids, like, we're working on algebra. They totally understand algebra, but they're getting the wrong answers because they don't know fractions, right? So I can pause them. Let's say, let's go back. You learned this in 6th grade, but you never mastered it. Let's pause. Let's do some remediation and review, and then keep going with the algebra. So I like the opportunity to kind of pause a kid, meet them where they are. It's hard for them often to explain to me where their hangups are.
Yeah.
It's hard to say what's hard, right? If you're just frustrated and at kind of a sticking point with your learning. I love having the opportunity to kind of be there and observe and step in when needed.
Is it in person? Is it remote? Is it a mix of both?
So it's all in person now, but with this partnership that we're working on, it'll be virtual tutoring for all those kids that are in rural schools throughout the state. Um, it's not going to be limited to rural schools because Montana Digital Academy offers hundreds of courses. So there might be kids in Helena or Missoula at bigger schools that are using the online curriculum, and those kids will still have access to our services. But I'm anticipating, especially in this first year of the program, it's mostly going to be those really small 1-2 room schoolhouses
Yeah.
throughout the state.
And there most likely might not be anyone local there. So that's where the digital will
Totally.
come in.
Yeah, if you live in a ranching community, how many people are going to be available in your, local radius who can teach you chemistry? Like, probably not many.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you graduated from MSU. What's your degree?
I did. I got a business degree.
Nice.
And that's part of my story that when you said Big Sky Tutoring, tell me about it, I left out the part that makes it kind of unique, which is I started it when I was 17.
Hi, folks. Quick note from me. If you don't already know, the goal of Mountain Mule is to build real connection between Montana's businesses and the people they serve. We provide private transportation services and Yellowstone National Park tours. If this episode or any other has given you something worth thinking about, smiling at, passing along, I've got a small ask. Share it with a friend, text it to someone, consider following the show. Whether you're using our services directly or following and sharing the show, those simple actions help support this business as well as the businesses and guests that have been a part of the show. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses, local jobs, and this beautiful state. Now back to the show.
So I came up here, I looked at Montana State. I literally got off the plane and in the airport saw the Bridgers and was like, I'm moving here. Like, before I saw the school, before I saw Bozeman, it just felt right when I stepped off the plane. So I came here for 3 days, saw the school, went back home to California, and thought to myself, like, I'm going to need to make money in college. I love tutoring. I was doing that in high school. That was my first job. And so I did a little research and realized there wasn't a private tutoring service in Bozeman. So I was like, I might as well start one. So before I even moved here, I filed all the paperwork with the state, and I was a 17-year-old owner of Big Sky Tutoring.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
You're reminding me of Riley Rivers because he did the podcast a little while back, and he owns Rivers Landscaping,
Mhm.
and he was taking classes at MSU when he already had his business going,
Mhm.
and he bid a job for MSU while
Nice.
he was. But that's so you must have felt that must have felt very practical taking business classes when you're running a business.
Totally. And the business school, this is why I love Montana State. I've never once regretted my choice to come to school here. They gave me credit for working on my business. So I had some upper division elective classes where, the coursework is to find an entrepreneur, work with them throughout the semester, help them with their business. And I approached the dean of the college and I just said, I have a business I'm working on. Like, can I do an independent study? So they let me skip some classes and gave me credit for building my business and gave me resources. They paid for me to do a business accelerator. I got so many opportunities through the business school. So
That's
I'm
so
really
cool.
grateful. Yeah.
And how old did you say you were when you started tutoring?
I actually started tutoring in sixth grade. I
Okay.
grew up just north of San Diego, and we had a lot of English language learners. And so, starting in sixth through eighth grade, I would go back to my elementary school once a week and I would work with first graders who were learning English on reading and writing. And I fell in love with that. And then when I was in high school, I joined a group called Peer Leaders, and we were assigned like a freshman class. We'd go in twice a month, tell them, what's going on around school, just mentoring younger kids. And then through that Peer Leaders program, they also offered peer to peer tutoring. And so I started tutoring math, Spanish, physics. And through that, I also got my first paid job, which was at a private tutoring service similar to the one that I run now. Um, it's really all I've ever done. I joke that I've never had a real job. I had summer jobs in college, cashiering, or
Mhm.
I worked at the airport for a little while, but this is all I've ever done. It's all I've ever known. I feel like I'm living my purpose. It's a really good blend of all my skills, and I get to be a teacher and a business owner. And I think that's really special. I'm living kind of a life by design. I'm doing the things that light me up.
Yeah, it's so genius that you worked for another company and you were that young so you could actually see how the business is run and get that business side sense of it. And then you are taking business classes while running a business. So it seems like you took like if I ever went back in time, there's so many things like that I would do
hmm
because you can learn so much. I mean, even what you learned not at your expense when you're working for another company. So you kind of get an idea and you don't have to do everything the hard way. And then to take advantage of being at MSU in business classes is
Yeah,
very cool.
thank you.
What compelled you to do that in the first place when you were in sixth grade?
I was a part of a program called CJSF, California Junior Scholarship Federation, I think, or Foundation. Um, and it was, just like an honor society for kids who had outstanding grades. I was totally like teacher's pet, overly involved, like loved high school. And so I started that in middle school, and part of it, you had a community service requirement each year to like keep good standing. And so I needed a community service opportunity. That one fell in my lap. And now it's been like 16 years and I still am tutoring every day. So
That's so cool.
thank you.
In your mind, what makes a good teacher or a good tutor?
So when I'm like hiring for a new position, I'm looking for personality. I'm not going to hire the person who has the most perfect grades. I'm not going to be wowed by someone who brings in a 4.0 um, transcript necessarily. I'm looking for someone who can step into a conversation with anyone and feel comfortable, like really getting to know them. I think what makes the difference with tutoring is there's an opportunity there to build like a real relationship with someone. And so I'm looking for people who have like the right combination of academic skill set and personality. I need people who are really open-hearted and kind and comfortable just sitting down with whoever, right? When you get your first meeting scheduled with a student, you don't know who they are and who they're going to be, what their interests are. So I'm looking for people who are kind of able to connect with anybody.
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to build a relationship with that student, and kind of like you were saying, if the student is having hangups and issues, it's very much a blind spot for them.
Yeah,
But they're going to have to be comfortable enough to sit with you and have that level of vulnerability to show you where their blind spots are, and then take feedback. And
totally.
so it's much more of a, yeah, like, I mean, I think a lot of business owners feel like that. The personality is the most important thing.
Yeah.
What is there anything that sticks out as far as like hangups with kids or anyone in general, or is that a very broad thing?
Can you elaborate on your question?
Like, is there when you tutor kids now, and I guess it's broad because there's so many different subjects and age ranges, but is there things that you see a lot of kids getting hung up with because of school today? Is it and then
I think we're still seeing for a lot of kids the after effects of COVID. Like all the kids who are seniors right now were in sixth grade when COVID happened. And if we're just looking at it, most of our business is math. That's where a lot of people have hangups, right? We don't get a lot of calls for history per se, because, that's pretty straightforward. Learn the material, take the test. Um, but if we're looking at it like just specifically with math, sixth grade is a really important year because you're kind of assimilating everything that you've learned thus far into like a new space where you're applying your knowledge, right? Up until sixth grade, you're just learning the skills one after the other. Starting in sixth grade is when you get kind of into that like pre-algebra where you're having to like figure out I have a question in front of me and I have a whole toolkit of things that I've learned and I need to figure out how do I apply everything I've learned? Which tools do I need for this job? And so all of these kids were in sixth grade when COVID happened, and sixth, seventh grade was mostly online for them. So I'm still seeing kids who are about to graduate and they've made it through their high school math, but with pretty significant hangups because those years when they built their math stamina, right? They were online. It was a different experience for them. So I think a lot of kids are still really behind from COVID. We have a lot of kids who are behind in reading, right? The kids who are in first, second grade when COVID happened, they're still catching up in their ELA performance. So COVID was a really big deal. And I'm grateful too. I was positioned well when COVID happened. We were tiny at that point. It was just me and a couple other people probably doing like $5,000 a year in business. Like it
Mhm.
was a side hustle. But we were ready and available and had a website that people could find. So we grew a lot during COVID.
During COVID, I was doing CAP mentoring here.
Nice. I
Yeah,
love that
yeah,
program.
it's
We're
very cool.
partnered with Thrive right now
Oh,
too.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the COVID time was weird
Yeah.
because I still went to the school, but it was pretty much face mask the whole time. And then I did like I think it felt weird for me. It felt weird for the kids. I can only imagine because how old would he have been then? I don't know. He was like 9 or 10,
Mhm.
and it's like if I feel weird now I'm an adult, and this is just there's something that felt off about it. And I don't know. It was cool that I think school, like a lot more kids out here, I think stayed in school in a
Yeah.
lot of places in the country, but it was definitely a weird time
Yeah.
that I have the same mentee for 5 years,
Wow.
and you see our pictures every year, and the one year in the pictures we had the mask. It's just so weird,
Yeah.
but it's
What school did you start out at?
the elementary off of Oak.
Morningstar. No.
Um,
Meadowlark.
yes,
Nice.
and then when he went up to the middle school, it was St. Joseph's.
Chief Joseph.
Chief Joseph. Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, he was there the last year. He actually moved, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess that would have been in 24. I haven't done it again. I talked to them about it. I'm pretty busy now. If I can make the time, I'll do it again. But that was like that kid.
That program is awesome.
Yeah, I'm still in touch with that kid. Like
Nice.
yeah, we're homies. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so because sixth grade, that's around 10, 11 ish, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
11.
Yeah, that is a weird that would be a weird time with the COVID and everything, so that makes sense.
I also can't imagine, like, socially
Yeah.
what that would do to just be pulled out of school and popped in front of a Chromebook at home. I was in college when that happened and my classes went online, and that was a bummer, but I don't feel that I, like, missed out on any, like, developmental milestones or, like, social things necessarily. I mean, I didn't get to party in college the same way that most people do, but yeah, for all those kids who got pulled out of school, I just have so much empathy for them.
What year did you graduate?
2021.
Okay, so was everything pretty back to normal then?
I still had some online classes, my last semester, but there were 2 full semesters where basically everything was online.
Yeah.
Our graduation was in the football stadium instead of in the field house. Usually the graduation's in the field house, but it was outside, 6 feet apart. Everybody only got to have 2, um, family members in the
Oh, really?
crowd. Yeah. So that was kind of a bummer,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I guess it's, like, better than 2020 though.
the vaccine had rolled out already, so I think people were, like, a little less scared of COVID at that point.
Uh-huh. And, yeah, like, everyone's, a little bit more free-spirited out here, so
True.
they just kinda wanted to go with it.
Yeah.
You were saying when you were a kid and growing up, you were a really good student and you just love school. Do you see kids that don't love school or it doesn't seem like the right thing for them?
So that's the thing that I think is really surprising to most people when I talk about the business is, like, I genuinely believe tutoring is for everybody. We see every type of kid. We have kids who have straight A's and are trying to go to Harvard, and we have kids where I'm cheering them on if they get a D minus in algebra, right? It's the full spectrum. I would say the majority of our business is, like, kids who are under the bell curve, right? They're not in special ed. They don't have enough issues that they're getting a lot of special attention and intervention at school, but they're also not so gifted that they're being given extra opportunity, right? We're like working with the kids in the middle. But I do see a lot of kids who are pretty checked out. And what's really interesting is my job is to help kids with school, right? But I'm not a college pusher. Like for those kids where we're just trying to pass, most of those kids are interested in the trades, going to welding school or becoming a firefighter. I'm super pro like alternative paths. I don't think college is for everybody. I think student debt in this country is getting really out of control. And I also think so many of these kids, right, they just have grown up saying, I want to go to Stanford. And if they get in, great, they're going to go. But the financial implications of going to a private school that's that expensive, I feel like when you're 17, you're making that decision. Most people aren't educated enough about the financial implications. So that's something I like to talk to my students about too. I just had a kid yesterday who came in for ACT tutoring. And since COVID, standardized tests are not required. Now everything is test optional, which means if your GPA is low and you like maybe otherwise wouldn't get admitted to a college, you can study for the ACT, get a higher score, and then send that to the school. So it would be like, yeah, my GPA is not the best, but my intelligence is high because of my standardized test. But even just that kid that came in yesterday, she thought we were going to dive right into ACT tutoring. And first, I wanted to have a conversation about what are your goals? Where do you want to be? And she listed Montana State and Arizona State. And she has a 4.0 GPA. And I told her, I was like, with your grades, like, you're going to get in. I don't feel comfortable putting this task on your plate and saying it's super important that you improve your standardized test scores because you're not in the category of kids who really would benefit from having a high test score because your grades are so great.
So you're doing some mentoring and counseling on, why you're doing this instead of just,
Hmm.
here's my next customer.
Totally. And I told her that. I was like, it's funny, this is my job. I make money on it, but if it's not the right fit for you, I don't want to just take your money. I think, go do some research, make a list of colleges you're interested in, then come back and see me. Because if the schools that you are interested in want the standardized test scores, some do, some require it. Some schools won't consider them at all. Like every public school in California, they won't even look at your test scores. It's a weird wild west right now.
Oh, interesting.
Everyone's figuring out kind of what to do. They changed the requirements in COVID because you couldn't have in-person tests, right? Where all the kids are coming in and sitting in the gym. There's 200 of them taking a test. Um, but yeah, I try to be really like personal with my customers. Yes, I could see this new client as, another few $100s a month in my bank account, but if they don't need it, I don't want to charge them for it.
And how much are you're tutoring full time now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I'm mostly at this point, we're doing so many scaling projects and trying to grow to like the next phase. I'm not tutoring a ton,
mhm.
probably like 10 hours a week. And then the rest of my work week is, running the business. Um, but we're getting into final season, right? There's a month left in the school year. So this month I'm going to take on more. Most of our students, when they come to us, like no matter when in the school year they start, usually they'll finish the school year with us. But we do at the end of the semester end up getting a big influx of like, okay, my kid might not pass algebra. We need someone just for the next 3 or 4 weeks. So we're about to get pretty busy here.
And then you're tutoring all summer too. Is that pretty
Yeah,
common?
it slows down a lot in the summer, and that's my big business challenge right now that I'm trying to crack is how can I keep revenue consistent through the summer? There are a lot of families who want to do summer tutoring for their kids who are, they get their spring standardized test scores back and they're behind. So then they call us and say, we want to get caught up this summer. A lot of parents also are just wanting to prevent summer slide. So we did a bunch of research this semester, and the studies show that learning loss in the summer is real. Kids lose up to 30% of their previous school year gains over the summer. Just by if you don't use it, you lose it. So we have students in the summer who were just, practicing their skills to keep them fresh. But yeah, the summer is kind of the bane of my
Yeah.
existence. We're a very seasonal business.
Well, I am too. I was going to say this might not help you get any busier in the summer, but one thing that's been huge for my business is there's a book called Profit First.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's just a way to run your finances in a business, and it's been very beneficial for me with we have very busy and very slow seasons. So we're
Hmm.
really busy all ski season. We're in a shoulder right now, and we're starting park tours this year,
Nice.
and that is for that exact reason, to be busier in the summer.
Yeah.
So similar to you just feel those waves,
Yeah.
and this has created some more financial stability running my financials this way, but
Hmm.
that doesn't help to get you busier in the summer.
Yeah. I'll read the book.
Yeah,
Thank you for the
I'll
recommendation.
share it with you. It's been very helpful, and I know
Cool.
it's on Spotify, the audio book.
Cool.
uh, what do you, what would you think if someone wanted a system where kids just stayed in school all summer and they could graduate like a year or two earlier?
I think our current model is based on an agricultural society that we're not in anymore and for most of the country, right? Like we need the summer off because that's farming season. That's public education started in rural communities with the 1 and 2 room schoolhouses like 150 years ago. And it's seasonal and you get the summer off because that's when parents need their kids to work on the farm. We don't live in that world anymore. Most people don't, that is. And so I would totally be a proponent of a 12-month school year with just, shorter breaks spread throughout, right? Christmas break is 2 weeks, spring break's 1 week, and then they get a couple long weekends here and there. What if instead of a 12-week summer, they got 6 2-week breaks throughout the year? That might make childcare more difficult for parents, but I do think that would be a good way to prevent learning loss.
Yeah, good luck lobbying that to most teachers. They'll be like, "Yeah, we're now on
Yeah.
the schedule of vacations are in the summer and we take off."
Yeah.
But that makes complete sense there. There was a farm. This isn't very common in dairy farming, but I grew up in that world. And the farm, what they would do is when a cow's in lactation, you're milking it, and the last 60 to 90 days before the cow is going to have its next calf. You essentially dry them off, is what it's called. You stop milking them, and they would synchronize essentially all the bird things were in the fall.
Yeah.
So they would dry all the cows off in the summer, and that's when they do all their crops.
Hmm.
So like this is very similar to that, that it makes sense.
Yeah.
And historically this would make sense because you're harvesting your crops.
Yeah. Summer is ag season.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of systems like that are grandfathered in.
Yeah.
Like they don't really reflect the way society is. So
Hmm.
that's, but I think I thought about that as a lot as a kid, and I was homeschooled, so it was a very different world. But because I could like front load stuff in a week or two and be done, or in a day or two and be done for the week. And I
Yeah,
would
I
think,
was just about to bring up homeschool. What was your experience like? Was you all the way through K-12 you were
yeah,
homeschooled? Wow, okay.
and I was the only one of my four siblings.
Wow.
They all went to school sometime around high school or pre high school. We all had the choice.
Hmm.
We had a family farm. I'm the oldest son. I was very involved with the farm, so I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going. I kind of I've I wouldn't say obligated, but I guess I will. But I felt obligated not
Hmm.
to. But I I liked it. The only thing I regretted later is not having the socialization.
Yeah.
I played sports, so I got more socialization than I think a lot of kids would in my situation. So I was probably a lot better off, but also it took me a long time as a young adult to like get socially comfortable and build that muscle because it just wasn't built growing up.
Totally. What kind of curriculums were you using?
So a lot of it, like what we were using towards like when I finished, it was a online thing. I think it was called Morning Star Academy,
Okay.
and that had like there was some biblical stuff. So there was like Bible, math, like pretty standard, but it was like pretty. I don't know for being the year that would have been like 2006, 7-ish. It was like pretty. I thought it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty legit.
Yeah.
Um, like my mother did a lot. Like my mother was much more involved, I think, when I was younger. But I felt like it was a lot more self teaching as I got older,
Hmm.
which is I don't know, been
Yeah.
pretty beneficial.
Yeah. I love helping homeschool kids. That's a very fulfilling part of my job. Unfortunately, usually I'm getting the call like, we've been homeschooling for 3 years and we're realizing our kid is really behind, right? And then I'm stepping in and trying to get them caught up on 3 years of math ASAP. Um, but it's really fun to see those gains happening so quickly. Um, depending on a kid's like natural aptitude for math, like I might be able to teach them a whole year of math in like 3 months. And then.
Yeah,
And with homeschool, early graduation is more possible because there's more flexibility in how quickly you're getting things done. You're not locked into the standard 9-month school year. We have some kids who are 16 and starting at MSU, 14 taking dual enrollment classes. So homeschool is a really great opportunity for both kids who are really advanced and kids who are, maybe a little more behind because you can do things at their pace. Um,
it. I don't know. Is that a growing thing? It seems like it's becoming more.
yeah, so Montana has super flexible homeschool laws. School choice is, we're kind of a libertarian state. School choice is pretty important here. Um, but I recently had a meeting with the superintendent of the county. And so there's school district superintendents who are in charge of their set of schools. But then there's a county superintendent who oversees all of the school districts within the county. And that is also the person who's responsible for tracking homeschool. And he told me that only 20% of the families who homeschool turn in their required documentation.
Oh, interesting.
So that scares me a little bit. What's happening to the remaining 80% of kids, right? 20% are turning in their hours at the end of the year, confirming that they actually have been doing school, but there's no consequences. So that would be something interesting as a thought experiment. Like, how do you fix that problem? Because the guy in charge basically told me we can't punish anyone for not doing this, but we're not getting the data back that we need. So it's a little scary.
Yeah.
Um,
Is that John or is that somebody else?
John Nielsen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So
Do you know him?
yeah. So
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah. So before I was in this shop and studio, was renting me and my buddy Kyle were renting a small studio where we started, and he's our landlord,
Wow.
and he did our podcast.
Nice.
If you want, I'll send you the episode with him
Yeah, I
later.
would love to listen to it.
We had no idea that he was the school superintendent or anything, and we talked with him for hours. And I really like him.
Great guy.
Yeah, just his thoughts on teaching and his perspective on it. I thought we had a great conversation with him.
Yeah.
But it's such a small world.
Yeah.
So are they not turning that data in at all, or they're not turning it until the end of the year?
They're not turning it in at all.
Interesting. Do you think they're just like anti-establishment and they don't want to?
Yeah, he said these people don't want to share their home address with us. And we had just a funny conversation of there's a lot of people these days who are so paranoid about sharing their personal information, but they carry around a tracking device in their pocket everywhere they go, right?
Yeah, it's very ironic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it a lot. I'm getting married this summer and I want to have kids, and I think about, where will our kids go to school? What will they do? And I would like in the best world, it would be a blend of, I don't know, probably some type of homeschool education, but like a really good social structure too.
Mm-hmm.
I actually just spoke with this woman earlier this week, Jessica, who has Dino Drop In.
Jessica Den, I know her well.
And she was talking about the what's the other school that she does? The
Explore Academy.
Yeah, that's a
Montessori.
Yeah, Montessori. Very interesting concept. Do you know much about that, or do you think much about it?
Kids are far out for me, but I definitely, from a very early age, want to implement Montessori principles. For the listeners who don't know much about it, like it's a very interesting model because you're letting kids learn by doing. It's a lot of hands-on experience, right? And it's things as small as if you're cooking dinner, give your kid a kid-safe knife and have them, cut up the cucumbers, right? You're working on their fine motor skills. They're learning how to follow directions. And so Montessori schooling is interesting because they're being given a lot of hands-on activities at school to like develop themselves as human beings outside of just learning math. I love Montessori. I think Montessori is great.
I thought so too. I was very intrigued by the entire concept. And I told her because I grew up on a farm, maybe I had like not like an improv Montessori experience.
Yeah.
There was so much practical
hands-on.
Yeah. She was saying that kids up to 9, like they don't even look at, it's not a chore up to 9. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
If you're letting them do something like that.
Totally.
So just that concept of they really want to help and learn. And that's so cool to think of.
All of the things that you can help them do. It's literally things as small as help me cut the vegetables, right? It's like letting kids be involved in life, right? And not just seeing them as not othering kids. Kids are just tiny humans, right? And so treating them with the respect of like giving them privileges to help and contribute. I think the whole thing's awesome.
I don't know where I heard this. I think it was on a podcast, but this is the way I generally treat most kids. And I know I treated the mentee that I worked with is I just talk to them like they're an adult.
Yep. Me too.
It just seems like there's the connection we have and there's more of a mutual respect. I'm not kind of talking down to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that the most fun. Like you get the coolest version of the kid when you just
let them be themselves, see who shows up at the table and be like open-minded to what they have to say. And it's funny you say that because we bought a condo a couple years ago, 2 years ago now. But before that, I lived in an apartment, great building, great neighborhood, loved everybody. And the family next door to me, like in the next building over, our backyards were kind of connected and they had 4 kids. And so the 4 kids were playing outside all the time. I got to know the kids just from, being around the neighborhood. And one time I was talking to their 4-year-old, just asking him, how you doing? What's going on? And I would pause long enough for him to gather his thoughts and respond. They can't respond as quickly as we do because they just don't have the higher order thinking skills that we have. He's 4. But his mom commented and was like, this has been so amazing watching you have a conversation with him. And I was like, why? And she was like, you're just talking to him like he's a person. And I'm like, "He is a
Yeah.
person. I know he's 4 years old, but he's a person." And she was like, how are you doing this?" And I was like, "Just wait a little longer. Let there be silence because he will come up with something." Right? And she was like, "You've just made me realize that I talk over my kid a lot. Like, I ask him a question and he doesn't respond fast enough, and I just give him the answer." And it just made me think, like, how many times are we stifling a kid's opportunity to, like, learn and connect by just, like, assuming less of what they're capable of? I like to assume that kids are capable of a lot. They're smart.
They're so smart in my experience, and I for quite a few years I coached Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Cool.
and the youngest kids group was 5 to 7,
Mhm.
and then after it was pretty much 8 to like 16 or 17. But some of the things those young kids would say, the brilliance, the humor,
Mhm.
all the above, it's just if you I would find so much joy in it because they're so funny and they're so
Yeah.
intelligent and they're a pain in the ass sometimes too, but they're
Yeah.
it's just great watching them be kids. And I think, yeah, if you give them enough time, they'll like the way they think is so unique and creative because they're not yet completely conditioned.
Yeah.
So it's very cool.
Yeah.
How about the new world with tech and AI? How does that fall into your role?
I use AI as a tool
Yeah.
in my work. It's really convenient to quickly check an answer to a math problem instead of me going all the way through it, right? If I have a kid practice on their own, I can just pop it in and it saves me time. Another thing that's really nice is if we've completed all the homework, right? And we're done with all the practice problems that are available with the homework, then I can just put a problem into AI and say, with parameters, take this math problem, give me 4 more examples where A is greater than 1, then give me 3 examples where A is negative or whatever, and then it'll just pop them out for me because it's really hard when you're making up math problems to make sure things work out evenly, right? I have to write one out, and then I have to test it and make
Yeah.
sure I get the right answer. I don't wanna give a kid a problem where the answer is accidentally like 23 over 55. Like, let's try to get a nice even round number, right? So it helps me a lot with just being more efficient. It is a threat to my business that there are a lot of online learning options now. You really can learn pretty much anything from AI if you're
Yeah.
patient enough and know how to ask the right questions. But I just see it as a tool for me to do my job better.
How about from the side of the student? Is there a concern that they aren't really learning this stuff because they're just using AI to get stuff done?
Yes, I would say that is a concern.
How did you have any like tactic to that or thoughts to that? Because like I'm just being honest. If I was in school with that, I would use it. I use it in my business all the time now, and it's my thought is why wouldn't I use this?
It's,
This is
yeah,
a great tool. It's the equivalent of a very glorified elaborate calculator.
totally.
But why would you sit there and do longhand math, which think I like pretty decently remember how to do?
Yeah,
But it's practical, and I wouldn't even blame kids. But it's also a bummer that it's great to be able to write
yeah.
and read and do that stuff, but if you don't need to, it is kind of weird.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line. I'm pro letting kids use it as a tool. It's a great research tool, right? If you're writing a paper about World War I and you ask it the right questions, like give me links to articles about why the United States entered World War I. It does a really great job of finding good resources for you. It'll summarize things for you, it'll make citations for you. My one concern is because AI is capable of answering this prompt, write me a 5 paragraph essay with a very strong thesis about why the United States entered World War I and make sure that you use 4 different sources and provide the MLA citations. It'll do the entire assignment for you. And that's where the line gets crossed. So I just try to talk to my students about using it as a tool instead of using it to think for you. I'm worried that in the future we might have a lot of people who have lack critical thinking skills because AI can do so much of the thinking for you. But I do think if used correctly, it's great for learning.
And it's even scarier, not to go down the rabbit hole, but if you lack critical thinking, it also can do the thinking for you in the way that it wants you to think,
Yes,
depending on who the designers are of this
100%.
software.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, it's crazy it's, so I'm doing this thing from this book. It was funny. This woman brought it up on the podcast, and I'd had the book for a couple of years. A friend gave it to me. And every day you write 3 pages longhand
Wow.
first thing in the morning.
Hmm.
And it's supposed to just kind of clean out your brain and get all the thoughts. And it's essentially, I think the term is like taking the trash out or something.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit painful. I guess today was day 8,
Hmm.
but it takes time, and writing that much just with a pen and paper. I'm I'm finding the enjoyment in it now more and more, but I also am like, is this just going to be such a useless skill soon?
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I wrote a 1-page letter the other day and my forearm was cramping.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it is bad.
Are kids still learning cursive handwriting or no?
I I think it's coming back from what I know, but I do know that they pretty much stopped teaching it. One thing that really bothers me is the kids do everything online. They have school-issued computers, and they're using Google Classroom, Canvas, the grade books online. They have online science labs, online reading libraries, like, everything's online, right? But they're not getting formal typing class. So all these kids are doing all their assignments, right? And they're doing finger pecking. I had to take typing class in school where you learn the proper form, you get really fast, you race yourself. And like being able to type quickly is such a great skill set. And I wish if I were president, I would make typing class mandatory because it's so important. We're doing so much more of it than writing. And there's not a huge emphasis on typing correctly, which gets to me. With my students when I'm helping them write essays and stuff, I sit right next to them and I'm like, for the sake of getting this done, you dictate and I'll type. And then we get the whole thing done really fast. And they're like, wow, that was so convenient. And I'm like, maybe you should consider like using some online tools to work on your typing. But
I should have taken some typing classes. I'm okay. I use so much voice to type to text
yeah,
because it's so
so
much faster.
convenient. Yeah.
The whole thing with that book is because I asked the guy that gave me the book, and it says it again in the book, because that was my first question. Can I just type this? This will be so much quicker.
Yeah.
But it's supposed to slow you down.
Yeah.
The thought, and it is very interesting because I'll start a sentence and I'll think of probably 4 more sentences before that one's finished.
Yeah.
And then that one will keep going. But I realize if I was typing, I probably would have just finished that one and jumped it. And I think it kind of slows your brain down and maybe organizes it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
If I was typing it, I mean, it looks like it's just pretty scrambled anyway. That's kind of the idea. But I think it would be even more chaos.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting exercise, but
Are there prompts every morning of the 3 pages you're supposed to write,
no,
or you're just supposed to
no.
write 3 pages?
And literally in the instructions, it says, if the only thing you can think is, I have no idea what to write, just keep writing. I have no idea what to write
Yeah.
and I haven't gotten there, but the concept, it's supposed to be like a mental health, like
Yeah.
clean your brain out and get out of your head a little bit. It does. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the great effects of it yet, but there's something a little bit soothing to it.
Yeah. That's very cool. I think journaling is great. I wish I was more consistent with it. I
Yeah.
have this big leather-bound journal I've had for like 6 or 7 years now, and I only write in it when I'm in like acute crisis, like I'm really stressed out right now, or I'm really not even just crisis. I'm really happy. Like I only use it when big things are happening, but it's so cathartic. And
Yeah.
sometimes when I have anxiety, which I have a lot because honestly, running a business of any variety can be pretty stressful. But when I am anxious and I write in my journal, I always feel so much better.
Yeah. No, I hear you there with the angst of a business, because it's
It's just a
stress.
lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I just had, a paycheck. A salary would be nice. That's one of my quips I always say.
Yeah. Well, when you get the profit first system dialed, you'll see how you got to get yourself on a standard salary.
I try, I do. It's just hard. You get paid last.
Yeah.
And when
So
you're scaling,
when you
need to get paid first.
yeah, when you read this book, because I literally took the book and I was just like, I am just going to obey this book like it's law.
Mhm.
and it's been so beneficial.
Okay.
Yeah. I've recommended it to a lot of business owners because it's something I never learned as far as the way finances are, and it's not something that's as traditionally taught, but
Mhm.
it's really more points to human nature
Yeah.
and how to fix some of the flaws in human nature that can show themselves in your business.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'll text you the Spotify link, but I
Cool.
recommend it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a big audiobook gal, so I will listen.
Yeah, the audiobook's pretty good. The author reads it, and he's got some good humor in it too. So it was pretty
Cool.
enjoyable read.
Yeah. Are you a big reader?
I probably listen to audiobooks more than I read, but I do read.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I probably read a book or two a month, maybe.
Nice. I'm
This
trying to hit 50 this year
oh wow.
between reading, and audiobooks, just however that shakes out. Last year I got 36, so we'll
So what
see.
is that? 5 a month?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were saying everyone's bad at math. That's my strength. And like everything
Really?
else is like, yeah. I have a kind of like compulsion with numbers. I'm like always counting, always multiplying. So it's
Yeah.
I don't know. It works great for me,
Yeah,
but
you
like
think in math.
yeah, which is it can be great for business, but it can also drive me crazy because I'm like, why am I counting those floor tiles right now? This is unnecessary.
Yeah.
But it keeps my
Do
brain
you think
preoccupied.
that is like a keen attention to detail type of thing? Like does that type of thinking transfer into like other aspects of your life?
Where it's useful is I'm a carpenter by trade,
Mhm.
so that it's very useful then because we're measuring and adding everything.
Yeah.
Um, with some things, but sometimes it's just like kind of an OCD tick. So I'm like
Yeah.
fidgeting, so I'll just start. I don't know, but maybe.
I count the stairs as I'm going up.
Okay, yeah, so I'll do that. Like everything. If it can be quantified, I've probably counted it.
Yeah.
I don't for better or worse.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't know. It was like halfway through my life. I'm like, seems like I count everything. And I
Yeah.
just hadn't noticed it before. But
Yeah.
anything else on in the AI world that you think about? I kind of like it sounds weird to say I feel bad for kids, but it seems like it's a weird challenge. But I don't know like I don't even know if I'm handling it right now. So I sure as hell don't know how I would have handled it when I was a teenager.
Yeah. Just as you asked me that question, I just thought of something that happened last year, which is I helped a kid write an essay about, I think it was about World War II. And it was a great essay, and the kid had awesome critical thinking. They'd done a ton of research. He dictated, I typed, right? And it was great. And I reviewed it. It had great grammar, all the commas were in the right place. And he failed it and got a 0 because the teacher said this was flagged for AI. They used something called turnitin.com, which I also used in high school, but at the time it only checked for plagiarism. Now it checks plagiarism and likelihood that it was written by AI. And so the kid failed and got a 0, and the parents were pissed. And, that's a problem. The kid had to rewrite it. But what that tells me is the bar for self-generated work must be really low if it's getting flagged for AI because the punctuation is perfect, right? We did everything right. And then the software said this must be written by a robot, right? So that just concerns me of like the teachers must have low expectations of what the kids can produce themselves.
Yeah, that doesn't speak very well to what is expected.
Yeah, and they're like barely teaching grammar. I push it a lot because, I want kids to be able to express themselves. Written language is important in any job. You need to be able to communicate with others and get your ideas out there. But there's not a lot of emphasis on grammar, syntax, sentence structure. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's very strange because you can almost tell something is written in a way that nobody talks.
Yeah.
So you just kind of scratch your head. And sometimes it's a little bit insulting
Yeah.
when it's just like a straight copy and paste. Because if you don't even proofread it, well, nobody would say that or that doesn't come out right. And I don't know, that was actually Patton too with Montana Festival was saying if you get to know somebody when you're reading something they wrote, you can tell that they wrote it
Yeah.
or that they didn't. And it's almost so I heard this guy has this this statement. I'm going to try to get it right, but he says when you're selling something or making something, what you're actually selling is the consciousness you're putting into it.
Mhm.
And if you think of that in the sense of something written, there's essentially is no human consciousness in it. So
Mhm.
I don't know, in a weird intuitive level that I can't explain, it's almost like you can really feel if somebody actually wrote that or if it just was totally whipped together.
Yeah, and that's why I was so shocked when this essay got flagged for AI because there was a lot of effort put in.
Can you can you give any pushback to them? Say, hey, no, you, hey, I'm the tutor, and he wrote this, and I typed it for him, and
I
this,
can. I can. I didn't in this instance because the parents were kind of wiggy about it. I don't
yeah,
know. I I will send emails to teachers of like, or if I'm doing a math packet with a kid, right, and there's some problems that are in my handwriting, I like write a little note at the bottom like, I'm the tutor, we did this together. Here's my phone number. Call me if you have any questions. But with kids who are like really super behind, right? They're missing half their assignments. Like I'll email with the teachers. They'll let me know what the priorities need to be. They're usually pretty cooperative.
yeah,
They they're happy the students are getting the extra help they need. So,
yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, it's cool that the parents want the students to learn. And
mhm. One thing that is important to me moving forward is I try to not be like cost um exclusive or prohibitive. Like I don't want to be so expensive that it's not accessible for just like, a normal family. Um but I would like to develop kind of a sliding scale program where I can provide low and no cost tutoring to kids who might otherwise not be able to afford it. So that's something else we're working on top of the partnership with the state is kind of designing that program. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have a nonprofit that like runs alongside my business where I'm able to fundraise and get grants for tutoring, and then basically the business bills the nonprofit to like pay for it, but it's just like a mechanism for
yeah,
providing scholarships. Um but I want to make sure that accessibility is addressed as we scale.
so because it's the Jake Jabs, that's the business school,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking is it the Hillman scholarship that they do there?
Hillman Scholars, I think, is for, if I remember correctly, like first generation college students.
Yeah.
And that's not affiliated with any specific college at MSU. You can be in any major.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if that was intertwined with Jake Jabs at all, but from what I understand, that like kind of what those scholarships are is for kids from rural communities and stuff. So
Mhm.
like this sounds similar in that vein that you're trying to
Mhm.
reach out to those any of those students that might not have access to the same
Mhm.
financial means. But
Mhm.
that's very cool if there's still an opportunity for them.
Yeah. It's all in the early stages, but I think to achieve my goals of making this accessible, I need to have the opportunity for other funding mechanisms like fundraising
Yeah.
and getting state grants and things like that. Um, so I'm excited to see what that chapter brings. I'm hoping that I can just help more kids.
Yeah. You have your flyers there. Is there anything that you didn't mention or we didn't cover or talk about that you do?
Not really. I'm really proud that everybody on my staff earns a livable wage.
Yeah.
And that's something I teeter with. Like, it's like mental agony sometimes because I pay a lot. I pay as much as I possibly can. And if I had different ethics as a business owner, I could definitely be making a lot more money if I hired people for as cheap as they would take the job, right? People are always surprised after their interview when they get the offer and I tell them what the wages are. They're like, okay, shoot, right?
Yeah.
And that's just something I'm really proud of. This year, I was able to implement healthcare for anyone who works 20 hours a week or more.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's something that gets to me too, just as a business owner, is it's sad how many people in this country like really struggle with getting healthcare because it's not like that expensive.
Mhm.
It is an added business expense, which is hard to take on, but you can structure it however you want. Like, you can make the employee pay for the majority of their healthcare, and I want to be, adding value to my employees' lives. I want this to be, like, an opportunity if there are, teachers or college professors who are passionate about education but aren't happy with their current job, like, I would like private tutoring to be an option as like a full-time job, and I think high wages and like healthcare is an important piece of that. So as we grow and like try to bring on more full-time people, I'm happy that we can offer that.
Are your are the tutors W-2 or 1099?
They were 1099 for the first like 5 years, but as we grew, now everybody's employees.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool if there's a different option that they don't want to be kind of confined to the traditional
Yeah.
teaching structure if if the need is there and
Yeah.
the pay is there because like some of the state wages are pretty bad for the school, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah. I know how you feel.
Education is underfunded for sure.
Yeah, and it's arguably one of the most important things
Yes, I
in the
agree.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I pay my team really well and it's not like, it costs a lot of money to pay people well. And like,
Yeah.
fortunately, usually you make most of that back with great employees and happy people. And it's worth it. But
And they stay
yeah,
and they're loyal.
yeah. But it's a decision you have to make consciously.
Yeah.
Cool. If anyone wants to find you, where do they go?
BigSkyTutoring.info or on Instagram, Big Sky Tutoring. We just last week, for the first time ever, launched paid marketing.
Oh,
I've
nice.
Everything that I've accomplished to this point with this business has all been like word of mouth and, organic Google searches, partnerships, referrals. Um, but I'm getting out there on the internet. I'm not super excited that
Mm.
I'm going to be popping up on thousands of people's phones as they're scrolling Instagram, but it is an exciting chapter. I'm excited to see what comes of it. And yeah, follow on Instagram would be very much appreciated.
And this will be one more spot you're getting out there too. So
Yeah, thank you for the
yeah.
opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Cool. Well, I'm a fan of what you're doing, and I
Thank
hope
you.
some people hear this and find you if they need you.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank
Thanks for listening, folks. You can find the full blog post for every episode, along with key takeaways and links at mountain-mule.com. If you haven't yet, consider following the show. That one small action helps these Montana businesses get seen, grow, and thrive, and it helps this podcast keep going too. If you know a business that would be a good fit for the show, we'd love to hear from you. Just reach out through the website or social. Thank you for supporting these Montana businesses. See you on the next show.